Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls, let's see here. The Chicago Bulls were 39-43 last season. So what was your favorite move that the Bulls made this offseason?
None. But I would say they got some draft pick potential. Their draft pick, maybe he has something. Again, this goes back to like previous 2 years. I've not been a fan of what the Bulls have done. So I outside of maybe something minimal, I don't think they maximize anything that they did this offseason.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. I did put Giddy down. Well, and we're going to talk about the other end of the trade too. So it's not like I totally, again, they didn't do a whole lot, but I do like the fact that Giddy is actually good. Like, I feel like he was limited in where he was, and I think he'll be able to open up his skill set being on the Bulls as long as he's the main ball handler, and it sounds like he's going to be, right? So I like the flyer. He's still young. He has a feel for the game. Um, Take a chance on it. I like that. Um,
It's nice to be optimistic. I,
what,
I
what's
don't
that?
hate Josh Giddey. I said it's nice to be optimistic. I don't
What?
hate Josh Giddey. I'm not like a huge fan of his. I just think similar similar to Trey Young, different skill set. But you have to build the team a certain way if you're going to have Josh Giddey on it. And I don't know that I would trust the Bulls to be able to pull
Yeah, it's funny because I guess I feel like, he's like a first or second ball handler. If you have him like down the line, his skill set is useless. And when you went to OKC, it was SGA and then Jalen Williams came to that second ball handler position. So him being in the starting lineup didn't make any sense, right? Because you wanted him to be a spot up shooter. And that's not his best quality. So I mean, you are right. I'm interested to see how it works out. But I kind of like the flyer personally. I will say too, sort of like a hoarder. Do you know how, like hoarders, you gotta little by little take pieces out of their house and eventually you can get it all clean, you know? Uh, Me and you have been pretty critical of the Bulls holding on to everything, and they slowly have let go of some of their pieces. So I'm gonna say that's my favorite move as well, is they're not holding on so tightly anymore to the stuff that they have, which means that they might be willing to trade more in the future. So that's another favorite move I have.
that. That was good. I like that. Glass half full right there.
Okay. Well, let's go at half empty. What was your least favorite move that they made?
I just we've talked about it. The value, you know, because they didn't want to take a little extra money, so instead of getting a first in Harrison Barnes, they take a second in Chris Duarte. Like, I don't know. I feel like you could just take Harrison Barnes and then move him again and get more
Right.
kind of like the Wizards did with Brogdon and Advia.
Yeah.
So just their whole process the last 2 years, and you're right, maybe they're slowly getting there. Just again, now you have Zach Levine, and what is Zach Levine worth?
Right.
I mean, they can't seem to give him away, and they don't want to look bad by just giving him away. But is Levine going to be fine with Josh Giddey handling the ball more? Is it going to be fine with Kobe White, not handling the
Yeah.
ball? Now you have Josh. Like it doesn't add up yet, so it's just a little bit of a mess.
No, overall I'm with you on that. Like Alex Caruso, I even think that trade for Josh Giddey, like I like the flyer on Giddey, but like you could have got more for Caruso last year at the trade deadline and you chose not to. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And like you said, this is a problem that they've had for many years. We talked about one of the first times I think we did a podcast, or it might have been one, early on, definitely is where they wouldn't trade Patrick Williams for Jeremy Grant. And it's just like you hope Patrick Williams becomes Jeremy Grant. That's what you hope. And Patrick Williams hasn't become that yet. So it seems like they keep shooting themselves in the toes by hanging on to what they have instead of looking at the possibility of what they could have with what they know and what they don't know. So like losing Alex Caruso just for Josh Giddey when he had such a higher value before the trade deadline, I didn't like that move.
Yeah, I put Patrick Williams in here too. Like 5 years, 90 million isn't like terrible. But again, they banked a lot on Patrick Williams. They wanted to keep him. I thought of the same thing that you just said. If you traded him for Jeremy Grant, I know Jeremy Grant hasn't, he's not this panacea that's awesome, but he's better than Patrick Williams. And you could have got more in trading him. Even now, like he still has value. I don't know what team is going to, give you a bunch of assets for Patrick Williams. He hasn't really shown much.
Yeah, and the thing, yeah, we don't have to get into the Jeremy Grant thing. I want to run down that road, but we don't have to do that here. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree with you on the Patrick Williams thing. Okay, biggest question for the Bulls.
It's just like, what is this? What? I know they're gonna probably work it out this season, but what are we doing here? What are we trying to get to? How are we gonna maximize? You traded for Giddey. He needs the ball to be effective. But are you going to crush the value of other guys that you might try to move? Or are you going to make Giddey look bad and he's not going to be happy because he's going to want that extension? So they have a fine line to walk, and I wouldn't trust the Bulls to walk that line. But I think they're going to have to Bradley Beal trade this and just bite the bullet. It's sunk cost fallacy. You're just going to have to move on from some of these guys for anything.
I agree. So I put fire sale or play and push. What are you going to do this year? Because that's the two options. Their team right now, I think, is like talented enough where they'll be on the verge of a play-in. They're just too talented not to be. Like Lonzo's playing. We'll see. I guess he's supposed to play in the preseason, so we'll see if he can stay healthy. But they're too talented not to be at the close to the play-in. So if you want to especially go for the higher draft pick, will you just fire sale everybody, swallow your pride? Hey, we made a mistake here in the Zach LaVine move. What can we get? What little, even if it's something like 2 second round. I remember when the Pistons traded Andre Drummond for 2 second round picks when they could have, like 2 years ago, got something more. Like when DeMarcus Cousins was like awesome, they were talking 1-for-1 for DeMarcus Cousins at the time. So it's like this is why you trade the guys when their values at the highest, and that their ceiling was met. So they got to trade fire sale Zach LaVine and Vucevic as well.
Yeah, and I believe the Bulls also lose their pick. It's top 10 protected, so they got to be in the top 10. So as you mentioned, like what you play, and maybe they can play it out a little further because there's going to be some bad teams in the East,
right?
Maybe
correct.
1 or 2 in the West, so you can kind of play that a little farther. But what are you going to do when it comes down to your pick in a good draft, or if Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine look good early in the year? How are we going to do this?
Correct. Yep. Correct. Yeah. Any other questions or points about the Bulls?
No.
Prediction.
I have them as a fringe play-in team too. You're right. They have enough talent that I think they might be able to ride that line and play for a 9 or 10 seed and still maybe keep the pick.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. Okay, Cleveland Cavaliers. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.